As I reflect back on what was supposed to be a perfect vacation with my wife, I can't help but feel a knot in my stomach. Little did I know that our getaway would turn into a nightmare that would shatter my world. My wife cheating on me was the last thing I expected, especially during what was supposed to be a time of relaxation and rejuvenation. Our journey to what was envisioned as the ultimate retreat from the mundane began with waves of excitement and anticipation. The destination we chose was a picturesque haven, promising serene landscapes and an oasis of tranquility, seemingly the perfect backdrop to rekindle our connection and bask in each other's company. From the moment we arrived, it felt as if we had stepped into a postcard, crystal clear waters, gentle sea breezes, and sunsets that painted the sky with hues of orange and purple. It was everything we had hoped for, a sanctuary where time stood still, and the hustle and bustle of our daily routine seemed worlds away. We spent our days exploring hidden gems around the area, indulging in local cuisine, and simply enjoying the beauty of our surroundings. Laughter filled our moments as we shared experiences that brought us closer, reminding us of the early days of our relationship. It was as if with each passing day, the stresses of life were melting away, leaving behind a renewed sense of intimacy and connection. The evenings were reserved for leisurely walks along the beach, hands intertwined, with the rhythmic sound of waves breaking against the shore as our soundtrack. We talked about dreams, future plans, and everything in between, under the blanket of stars that lit up the night sky. It was a blissful escape, a momentary pause in life where the only thing that mattered was the here and now. This getaway was meant to be our haven, a rare opportunity to put everything else on hold and focus solely on us. The initial days of our vacation felt like a reaffirmation of our love, a testament to the strength of our bond. Little did I know, this idyllic setting would soon become the backdrop for a revelation that would turn our world upside down. The sun was starting to dip below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the landscape when I first noticed the subtle shift in her. My wife, always so present and engaged with me, suddenly seemed to possess a distant glimmer in her eyes, a hint of distraction that I couldn't quite place. It was this evening, amidst the laughter of tourists and the clinking of glasses at a quaint beachside bar, that she first encountered him, the mysterious stranger who would irrevocably change the course of our vacation and indeed our lives. I observed them from a distance initially, attributing my discomfort to unfounded jealousy or perhaps the unfamiliarity of our surroundings. He was undeniably charismatic, with a confidence that commanded attention, and an air of mystery that seemed to draw people to him. I watched as they struck up a conversation, light and seemingly inconsequential, yet there was an undeniable spark, an immediate connection that seemed to ignite between them. His laughter complemented hers in a way that was both new and unsettling to me. In the days that followed, it became increasingly apparent that this was no fleeting vacation friendship. The man whose name I came to know but wished I hadn't was staying at the same resort, and his encounters with my wife grew more frequent, more intimate. They shared inside jokes, exchanged glances that lingered a little too long, and found excuses to be in each other's company. The unsettling feeling in my gut grew with each passing day, a prelude to the storm that was about to hit. This stranger, who had appeared out of nowhere, was slowly weaving himself into the fabric of our holiday, into the very threads of our relationship. It was as if he held a mirror up to my wife, reflecting a version of her that was vibrant and alive in ways I hadn't seen in years. Unbeknownst to me at the time, he was not just a passerby in our journey, but a catalyst for revelations and decisions that would challenge everything I thought I knew about love, fidelity, and marriage. Each passing day, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, a palpable tension hung in the air, a silent witness to the growing distance between us. The laughter and shared moments that once defined our days were slowly replaced by silence, an uncomfortable void that neither of us seemed willing or able to bridge. It felt as though we were strangers sharing a table, struggling to find the words that used to come so easily. At night, as we lay side by side, the physical distance in our bed mirrored the emotional chasm that had formed between us. My attempts at conversation, once met with warmth and enthusiasm, now seemed to barely scratch the surface, eliciting only superficial responses. The vibrant woman I had married, who could talk for hours about everything and nothing, now seemed guarded, her thoughts a million miles away. The change was subtle at first, like the slow receding of the tide before a storm. But as days turned into nights, and the unfamiliar patterns of behavior became more pronounced, denial was no longer an option. The intimate dinners and walks along the beach that were once the highlights of our days had become perfunctory, devoid of the connection that had drawn us to this paradise. I found myself watching her when she thought I wasn't looking, trying to decipher the thoughts behind her distant gaze. Was she simply lost in thought, or was there something or someone on her mind? The idea gnawed at me, a growing suspicion fueled by the changes I couldn't ignore but didn't want to confront. It was in those moments, amidst the stunning backdrop of our supposed sanctuary, that the seeds of doubt took root. The realization that my wife was slipping away, retreating into a world I could not follow, left me grappling with a mixture of confusion, fear, and a burgeoning sense of dread. My heart was racing with a mix of anticipation and anxiety as I made my way down the dimly lit path to the beach. The night was calm, the air filled with the scent of the sea and the gentle rustle of the palm trees. I had planned this dinner as a surprise, a way to recapture the magic that had slowly started to slip through our fingers during the vacation. As I approached the secluded spot I had chosen for us, the soft murmur of voices broke the silence, pulling me towards the shadowed area where the candlelit table awaited. But the scene that unfolded before me was not the romantic reunion I had envisioned. Instead, I was met with the harrowing sight of my wife, wrapped in an embrace with a stranger who had become an unexpected part of our lives. They were locked in a moment so intimate, so raw, that the world around me seemed to freeze. The shock sent a jolt through my body, rooting me to the spot. My initial impulse was to shout, to unleash the storm of emotions that surged within me. But as I stood there, hidden in the shadows, a heavy silence settled over me. The betrayal I witnessed was not just a shattering of trust. It was the crumbling of the life we had built together, piece by piece. Time seemed to stand still as I watched them, the painful realization sinking in. The love and connection I thought we shared, the laughter and dreams we had woven together, had been overshadowed by this clandestine affair. The discovery was a stark revelation, a moment that marked the end of the innocence of our relationship. In that instant, everything changed, and the path ahead became unclear, obscured by the hurt and disbelief that filled my heart. Underneath the cloak of a moonlit sky, the inevitable confrontation unfolded, a moment suspended between heartbreak and reality. As I stepped out from the shadows, the surprise on my wife's face was as palpable as the tension that had been building between us. The air felt thick with unspoken words and the weight of my shattered expectations. I found my voice amidst the chaos of emotions, each word laced with a mixture of pain and disbelief. How could you? It was a question that echoed in the silence that followed, a simple query that carried the weight of our shared years, our vows, and the life we had built together. Her confession came in waves, each revelation more devastating than the last. She spoke of loneliness, of a connection that had been missing, of finding in the stranger what she believed was lost in us. The words cut through me, leaving a raw, exposed wound where trust and love once resided. There were tears, hers of regret, and mine born of a hurt too profound for anger. As she pleaded for understanding, for a chance to explain, I realized the magnitude of what had been lost. The candidness of her admission did little to quell the storm of emotions inside me. Instead, it served as a stark reminder of the fragility of human connections, of how easily happiness can be dismantled by choices. The confession didn't provide the closure I had hoped for. Instead, it opened a Pandora's box of questions and doubts, a testament to the complex tapestry of emotions that infidelity weaves into the fabric of a relationship. As I stood there listening to her, a part of me mourned for the simplicity of our past, for the love that I thought was unbreakable. In the days following the revelation, my emotional landscape became a tumultuous sea, each wave crashing against me with relentless force. Anger, a fiery companion, flared with every thought of their betrayal, burning through the memories we had created. Hurt, a constant shadow, followed closely, whispering reminders of the intimacy we had shared, now tainted by deception. Disbelief frequently seized me, a paralyzing grip that made me question every laugh, every touch, every promise. And amidst these towering waves of pain, sadness lingered like a heavy fog, obscuring the path forward, making each step feel uncertain and heavy. I found myself oscillating between moments of sheer determination to salvage what was left of our marriage and periods of profound despair, doubting if the remnants of our relationship were worth the effort. Sleep became elusive, a cruel reminder of the nights now filled with silence instead of shared whispers. Food lost its taste, and the world around me seemed to lose its color, as if the betrayal had leached the vibrancy out of everything. Attempts to engage in normalcy felt hollow, every action tinged with the sting of her infidelity. Conversations with friends and family, once a source of comfort, now felt like navigating a minefield, each word carefully chosen to mask the depth of my turmoil. The solitude I sought for solace became a prison, echoing with the ghosts of our past happiness. In this storm, I grappled with conflicting desires, the longing to confront her, to demand answers and accountability, versus the impulse to retreat to lick my wounds in isolation. The battle within was as ferocious as the emotions that rage, a testament to the complexity of love betrayed and the arduous journey of healing that lay ahead. Navigating through the aftermath of my wife's infidelity was like walking through a minefield of emotions, every step threatening to unearth more pain and betrayal. The revelation of her affair had erected an invisible barrier between us, transforming our once comfortable silence into a chasm filled with unspoken accusations and regrets. Conversations became exercises in restraint, as we tiptoed around the gaping wounds, too raw and painful to confront directly. The easy camaraderie and deep understanding that had been the bedrock of our relationship seemed like distant memories, replaced by awkward exchanges and forced smiles. Trust, the invisible thread that had bound us together, was now severed, leaving a void that suspicion and doubt rushed to fill. Every phone notification, every late return from work, became a potential clue to another betrayal, fueling a cycle of mistrust that was exhausting to maintain. The intimacy that had once been our sanctuary felt tainted, each touch a reminder of the intimacy she had shared with another. Efforts to bridge the distance often felt like patching up a dam with cracks too numerous to count. We sought counseling, attempting to untangle the web of emotions and rebuild from the rubble. Yet, despite our best efforts, the foundation seemed irrevocably damaged. The laughter and joy that had once defined us were now rare guests, their presence a bittersweet reminder of what we had lost. The affair did not just alter my perception of my wife. It forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities, insecurities, and the role I played in the disintegration of our connection. It was a bitter pill to swallow, acknowledging that the harmony we had taken for granted required more than love. It demanded constant nurturing, communication, and the courage to face our flaws head-on. The journey through this melangetic chaos was a stark reminder of the fragility of relationships and the painstaking effort required to sustain them. Embarking on the journey of forgiveness after my wife's affair was akin to navigating through an emotional labyrinth, fraught with unexpected twists and turns. It wasn't a decision made in the heat of the moment, nor was it an easy one. Each day I had to consciously choose to forgive, to set aside the bitterness and anger that threatened to consume me. This path wasn't about condoning her actions or pretending the betrayal didn't cut deep. It was about freeing myself from the chains of resentment that bound my heart. Forgiveness required me to confront my pain head-on, to acknowledge the myriad emotions that surged within me without letting them dictate my course. It demanded a strength I wasn't sure I possessed, the courage to look beyond the hurt and see the potential for healing. There were moments when the wound felt too fresh, the betrayal too raw, and forgiveness seemed like an insurmountable peak. Yet, with each step forward, I found a sliver of peace, a respite from the turmoil that had taken residence within me. This journey was as much about forgiving her as it was about understanding myself. It forced me to examine the fractures in our relationship, the silent grievances that had gone unaddressed, paving the way for the chasm that eventually separated us. Through the process, I learned the true essence of forgiveness. It was not a gift to her, but a balm for my soul, a way to mend the pieces of my shattered heart and embrace the possibility of a future unencumbered by the past. The decision to either rebuild the broken fragments of our marriage or to start afresh on separate paths was one that loomed over us like a dense fog, refusing to lift until a choice was made. Our hearts, once entwined in the kind of love that novels are written about, were now navigating through the aftermath of a betrayal that neither of us was prepared for. The journey to this crossroads was marked by countless conversations, tears shed in the quiet of night, and an introspection that was as painful as it was necessary. Choosing to part ways was not an admission of defeat, nor was it an easy escape from the work required to mend what was broken. It was, in its essence, a profound act of understanding and acceptance, an understanding that the trust we once shared had been altered in a way that we couldn't seem to navigate back from, and an acceptance that our paths to healing and happiness might lie apart rather than together. This pivotal decision was a testament to the love we still held for each other, a love that now sought our individual happiness over a shared unhappiness. It was a choice made with heavy hearts but clear minds, recognizing that the end of our marriage did not signify the end of our growth or our capacity to love again. In this decision, there was a silent promise made, not to each other but to ourselves. To learn from our past, to embrace the lessons it taught us, and to step forward into the unknown with hope and resilience. Navigating through the turbulent waters of my wife's affair, I emerged on the other side with insights that were both profound and transformative. The ordeal served as a harsh tutor, imparting lessons on the essence of trust and the fragility of love. It underscored the paramount importance of open communication in any relationship, and highlighted how neglect in this area can sow the seeds of discontent and betrayal. I discovered the hard truth that love, no matter how deep, requires more than just feelings. It demands action, understanding, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths together. Forgiveness, a concept I wrestled with, taught me about its liberating power, not just in the context of forgiving others, but also in the importance of self-forgiveness. Through this process, I realized that harboring resentment was akin to carrying a weight that hinders one's own journey to healing and peace. The most poignant lesson, however, was learning to let go. Letting go of what was, to embrace what could be, and understanding that sometimes the most loving act is to release each other from the pain of the past. This journey redefined my perception of strength, showing me that true courage lies in facing our darkest moments with openness and vulnerability, ready to move forward with a heart that's wiser and more resilient.